Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Commission resumes. National Commissioner, you're still under oath. We were busy with the Exhibit L, and the fact that it doesn't mention this meeting on the decision and so on the Wednesday night. And you seem to think that the fact that General Mpembe knew about it and General Annandale knew about it was enough. It wouldn't be a secret. But I'll give you an opportunity again because I don't understand your answer. Can you suggest any reason why that meeting and the decision was not communicated to this commission?
Chairperson, I do not think that the non-communication could have been an omission, but I don't think that it was anything untoward, avoiding any other thing, and that would be my submission to this commission.
Yes, thank you. Now, you see, not only was it not mentioned in Exhibit L, I understand it wasn't part of the police hard drive either. The police made the hard drive available, all the material that they considered relevant to our work. It didn't contain that either. I take it you don't know whether that was done or not.
Your question again, Chair?
Well, you see, in addition to Exhibit L, which is the police presentation, which we've discussed before the comfort break, the police also provided us with what we've called the police hard drive, which contained all the documents which they thought would be relevant to us in our work. See? And that didn't contain anything about that meeting. It didn't contain the minutes and so forth. I take it you can't tell us why that was so. It wouldn't be fair for me to ask you that. Am I correct?
Chairperson, I think in the spirit of sharing documentation between the organization and the commission, that has been ongoing. Any outstanding issue that was asked for, we would go and search for that and make it available. As I've said, Chairperson, I do not believe that there was anything untoward in terms of that matter. And when we were requested to do so, we did submit.
We had to know about it before we could ask about it. And anyway, but that's not a matter I need to debate with you further. I'll put the point to you. Now, I want to ask you something else. You remember that when the commission was appointed, you gave an undertaking, I take it I can fairly call it a solemn undertaking, on behalf of the SAPS to cooperate fully with the commission. Is my recollection correct?
You are very correct, Chair.
Would you agree with me that the fact, whether it was an omission is something that can be considered later separately, but would you agree with me that in fact the failure to tell us anything about that meeting on the Wednesday night, so we had to hear about it from independent source before we knew to ask the questions we did, that the failure to do that doesn't square with the implementation of the promise of full cooperation?
I do not agree with you, Chair, because as I've already indicated, it could have been an omission, and when we were needed to submit, we did so, Chair. Yes. So I would not agree with you that we were not cooperating with the Commission.
But we had to know about it before we could ask for it. And we only heard about it through an independent source. But anyway, I won't debate that with you further. You now seriously stating that we would be in error if we were to find that the failure to mention that meeting and the decision to us was not something which could be regarded as falling short of the obligation of full cooperation which rested on the police. We'd be wrong if we were to find that. Is that what you say?
Yes, Chair, you would be wrong because it remains our commitment to fully cooperate with this Commission.
Let's move on to another matter. The police expert, Mr. De Rover, gave evidence last week, and I want to ask you a number of questions about what he said and his role. Was the fact that this meeting took place and this decision was made originally disclosed to Mr. De Rover as part of his briefing?
I do not recall, Chair, but I don't believe that it was necessary even to go into those details because he was looking at everything and he would have found it because it was never a hidden thing, in our opinion.
Where would he have found it?
In his engagement with the organization.
But where?
In his engagement with those that were participating. He would have engaged with General Mbombo, he would have engaged with General Annandale, he would have engaged with any other person, and those issues would be part and parcel of the discussions.
Well, I must tell you that he told us that it was, to use his word, divulged to him by a third party over a cup of coffee, as he put it. And he then subsequently raised it with you and Generals Annandale and Mpembe. Does that surprise you that it was only divulged to him by a third party over a cup of coffee, and he then raised it after it had been so divulged? Does that surprise you? Wouldn't you have expected that to be part of the basic instructions that he received?
It would surprise me, Chairperson, because the divulging suggests that there is conspiracy, there is a secret, and I'm on record, and I'm putting it again on record. There was never a secrecy around that matter.
All right. Now, I want to ask you about some further matters which flow from Mr. De Rover's evidence. Now, he gave us evidence on Friday that he was of the view that a decision of this nature, that's the decision taken on the Wednesday night, must have been preceded by an instruction from the executive. And he said that he raised that with you. Is that correct? To be fair, he didn't say that he had definite information that there was such an instruction. He said he would have expected it, and he said what would have happened in his own country and so forth. So he was firmly of the view that a decision of this magnitude could never have been taken simply either by the Provincial Commissioner on our own or even by the Provincial Commissioner backed or endorsed by all the other provincial commissioners and yourself and General Masemola and General Mawela. And he said he raised that with you. Is that correct? Did he raise it with you?
I don't recall that.
Surely you remembered if he'd raised something like that?
No, I don't recall that, Chair.
But that would have been a startling proposition, would it not?
I'm surprised that this issue is being raised in this man. I don't recall him talking to me about political decisions, executive decisions raised at a particular... I don't recall that conversation.
Because he says that he did raise it with you. He clearly remembers it, or says he does. And when I asked him, well, what reply did you give? He said, well, it was a diplomatic reply. That was his phrase. So I then said, what does it mean? And then I said, would it be fair to describe it as could it be described as an evasive reply? And he said, yes. So what I want, obviously it doesn't seem as if you can help us. If you can't remember that he raised it with you, you won't remember what reply you gave, and whether it was diplomatic or evasive or whatever it was. Is that fair?
Chair, I think the important thing for me, because I was not privy to that engagement with Mr. De Rover, what would assist me is to know, what did he ask? What did he say I responded to? Is he able to give us those details so that I can understand what this evasiveness and this diplomacy is? Because you can't just say something is diplomatic if you don't have the details thereof. I would appreciate to be privy of that detail and the conversation so that I can apply my mind to that.
Let me give you the detail that I can recall from what he said. He said he didn't believe that a decision of this magnitude could have been made by the police themselves. He would have expected, and he said that this was based on his understanding of what happens in other countries, that it could never have been done unless there was an executive order to that effect. And he also said an order from the judiciary. Well, I think the position of the judiciary in Holland is different from ours, so we can disregard that. Anyway, that's what he said. And then he said he raised it with you, and he raised it with some of the generals as well. And I asked him, I can't remember, I asked him, he said, and he gave the answer, that he raised it with you, and the answer he got from you, he said, was a diplomatic one. So we endeavored to interrogate that answer further. And I then said to him, was it an evasive answer? And he said, yes. Now, that's why I ask you the question. Firstly, did he raise it with you? If he didn't raise it with you, the point falls away. I understand you say you can't remember whether he did or didn't. So if you can't remember if he did it, I take it follows you can't remember what answer you gave if he did ask you. Is that fair?
Chairperson, let me deal with the issues that you've raised with me one by one. One, you indicate in the statement that you are putting to me to consider as an answer that Mr. De Rover talks about instruction from the judiciary. You overrule, you say the judiciary, because of how we are structured, couldn't be from the judiciary. He puts in the executive. In a similar vein, these are presuppositions. Judiciary, executive, evasive, diplomatic. I don't even have the sentence or the response that I've given so that I can assess it for its evasiveness and diplomacy. I don't recall. If at least he has said so, I would be very interested, Chair, in looking at what response, what did he say I said that is diplomatic and invasive?
Well, before we get there, he said he raised it with you. And I must confess I was startled when he gave the evidence. And I also must put to you, I would have expected you to have been startled, surprised, whatever word would be appropriate, if such a question were put to you. I'm surprised. Obviously, there's a prima facie view. I may be wrong, but I must tell you, I find it strange that you can't remember such a question being put to you if it was put. But I understand your evidence to be you can't remember whether he asked you that question, so he may have done. Is that fair?
Chairperson, I'm startled by this. I don't remember.
All right. You don't remember his raising it. So therefore you obviously can't help us to know what answer you gave if he did raise it. That's also fair. There's no point in investigating it further. Is that right?
Chair, Mr. De Rover was here. I'm sure he should have said what I said. And then I would respond to that.
All right. Anyway, difficult for you to respond to if you can't remember the discussion. Anyway, that's just a comment which I shouldn't have made. Now, the next point I want to raise with you is this. Mr. De Rover told us that he advised you in February or March 2013, when he came here and had discussions with various members of the SAPS, he advised you that the use of R5 rifles in public order policing operations, whether by POP units or by other units, was totally unacceptable for reasons which he explained and which he said were internationally recognized. And he said he advised you that the use of R5 rifles in those operations of the POP of a public order policing nature whether by POP members or other units, should be discontinued immediately. Now, the first question is, did he give you that advice?
Chair, Mr. De Rova has given us many advices, and he's also advised us on issues of R5s.
What advice did he give you on R5s?
As you summarize it, that's what he said to us, Chair.
What he told us was something that he may not have told you. He said one of the reasons, the main reason, and a couple of others as well, but the main reason, as I understood him, was why an R5 is totally inappropriate for an operation of this kind, is because it contains, if you fire it, the bullet fired will continue in the horizontal path for, I think he said, was it 600 meters. So he said the problem is, in fact, we had a problem in this case, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So if you fire an R5 at someone who's 5 meters away and you miss him, unless you know what's behind him for 595 meters, there's the danger that some innocent person will be killed or seriously injured. In fact, the evidence seems to indicate that happened here. There was one person who wasn't a striker, according to what we've been told. He was a nephew of a striker. He went to take his uncle his lunch on the Kopi. He was coming back afterwards when other people were going to the west. This was part of the explanation given, I think, but it's not actually evidence. But his body was found over 200 meters behind, to the right of the Kopi at scene 1. And it seems clear that he was killed by a bullet that was presumably fired at one of the people at scene 1, near the kraal, missed the person at whom it was fired, went on for another 200 meters and killed him. So that's the kind of problem you have if you use R5s in public order policing operations. Now, did he mention that to you, or did he simply tell you what you've already agreed with, that it's not appropriate for that kind of operation, and that's the international situation? Did he tell you? Did he give you the specific point I put to you now?
No, Chair.
Right. May I ask you this? As we sit here today, are R5 rifles still used in public order operations?
Yes, Chair.
Is it correct that even POP members, who are normally armed with non-lethal things like shotguns that fire rubber balls and tear gas and stun grenades and so forth, is it correct, though, that in every unit of the POP there's one person who has an R5?
It is true, Chair.
In the light of the advice you got in February or March 2013, do you accept that it is irresponsible to proceed with the use of weapons of that kind in operations of the sort we've discussed?
I don't accept that it is irresponsible, Chair, because...
Why not? Why not?
I'm going to explain. Because, Chair, the use of weapons, instruments by police takes into account the level of threat there is at any given time. And it is important for us as police to ensure that police are equipped to be able to manage the threat that would have been assessed by the police adequately. And it is also true, Chair, that as you look at our 262, it shows that graduation of use of different equipment at any given time. For now, Chairperson, the R5s remains. We are looking at additional research to look at what other less lethal weapons we can use. And as and when we get there, we have an MOU with CSIR that is assisting us to do so. So when we get to a point where we're able to get a less lethal weapon that we can use in terms of the continuum of responding to threats that we've evaluated, we shall do so.
Okay.
What De Rova did is to give us an advice, and we have a big basket that is taking all these advices, including what is going to come out of this commission, and on the basis of the Chairperson, we will be able to respond as the police.
Do you know whether R5 rifles have been used in POP operations, or public order policing operations, never mind about POP units, since August 2012, between then and now?
Can you ask the question again, Chair?
Yes, certainly. Do you know whether R5 rifles have been used in any public order policing operations, whether by POP units or by other units, since the killings on the 16th of August 2012? In other words, from then until now.
I have already responded, Chair, to say R5 rifles for now remain used by the police.
POP unit, even POP unit people have hand arms. They have 9mm pistols, don't they? Those are lethal, aren't they?
It is true, Chair.
Now, there are other problems related to R5, not only the one I mentioned. Did you know that the bullets disintegrate if they hit someone and they enter the body? They normally disintegrate, causing particularly inappropriate damage, a very high prospect of fatal injury, even if it hits someone in the leg. Did you know that? That's the evidence we've had. Did you know that?
I have been informed likewise, Chair.
You were prepared to run that risk, were you?
Chair?
You've been prepared, since you got that advice, to run the risk that would happen, that even if someone was shot in the leg, which is possibly an appropriate place to shoot if in a POP operation you don't want to kill. But,
Chair,
but because an R5 has been used, the chances of that person sustaining fatal injuries, even in that kind of situation, are significantly greater than they are if a weapon such as a 9mm pistol is used. Yes, he also said if you're hit in the arm, there's an R5 bullet, you have a very strong chance of losing the arm. Anyway, you're prepared to run the risks of increased chances of injury by the use of R5s, and you've been prepared to do that since you got that advice. Is that your evidence?
Chairperson, my response to you that I said earlier on, which I shall repeat, is that R5s have been part and parcel of deployment based on the levels of threat. I'm also on record, and I'm putting it again on record, that we are in the process of evaluating our armaments and to ensure that we can get less lethal weapons that we can use, and part of that evaluation that we're having with CSIR would include R5s, and the recommendations that are going to come from this commission, the advices that we've received, will all be taken into account, and on the basis of that, Chairperson, certainly we shall consider how we deal with the issues going forward.
Thank you for that assurance. But I'm still puzzled why R5s are necessary. What's wrong with R1s?
Chair, I'm very reticent to state for the record what the legal framework, which I take it, Chair, you clearly understand. That the legal framework for public order policing in terms of 262 puts at the highest level of force that can be used to being a rubber ball. It does not entail that the presence of the R5 follows that it would be used in public order management. It clearly says that 262, you would go that way if in law you're entitled to use that weapon in self and private defense.
I know that. I'm concerned with R5s. That's why the question I asked was, what's wrong with an R1? And R1 hasn't got the extra characteristics of R5s, which I've summarized to you. I can understand there will be situations where members of the service would be placed in a position where they have to defend themselves or their colleagues. I understand that. And I understand that lethal force sometimes has to be used. I'm not even questioning that. I'm concerned about why R5s. You see, I'm going to tell you something else about R5 you may not know. Not only is there a greater chance, according to the evidence, of the person receiving a serious injury or even a fatal one, but the bullet, as I've said, disintegrates. And one of the problems we have in this commission is the ballistic evidence doesn't tell us who killed which particular shotist, killed which particular deceased. It's not possible at all to say, on the basis of ballistic evidence, who fired the bullet at the person who particularly deceased who died. So there's another unhappy circumstance. But the question I ask you is, why R5s as opposed to R1s? That's the question. What's the answer to that?
Chairperson, my response once more is that indeed this commission is going to be making recommendations to us. We will take those recommendations into account with all the other advisors and the research inputs that we're going to receive. At this point in time, it would be remiss of me to make a statement such as this one without considering every other thing that we're being advised on.
Well, the record will show that I asked you specifically why R5s rather than R1s, and you haven't given me the answer, but I won't press the point any further. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is this. Mr. De Rover told us that you told him that you were critical of the operation. Is that so?
I'm not sure what he said, but I have said in this commission that the outcome of this whole exercise remained a serious concern for me as the National Commissioner, as it is to everybody in this country.
You didn't go any beyond that in criticizing the operation. So he's wrong when he tells us that you were critical of the operation. Am I correct?
I'm not in a position to say he's wrong, he's right. Chairperson, I don't know what he said to you.
No, I tell you what he said. He said you were critical of the operation. That's why I want to know, is that correct? And then the follow-up question, which I may as well give you now, is if you were critical of the operation, in what respects were you critical? What did you criticize about the operation?
Chairperson, I did already say now that the outcome of that operation remains a sore thumb in my heart, and I believe in the hearts of many, and this is why we are gathered here. And part of the issues will be coming up in some of the things that we picked up as lessons to be learned, things that we're starting to deal with and correct. I've already mentioned one now to say we're looking at research, non-lethal weapons. It's a number of things. So it's those type of things, and I think in our lessons learned, they would be adequately covered.
I want to go back for a moment to the management forum, the meeting on the Wednesday night. The two things I want to ask you about that. The first is, I've told you about a problem in getting access to any tapes which record this discussion of about an hour, which would be very helpful to us to see what exactly were the bases of the decisions that were made. But do you have assistants who attend meetings with you and make notes of discussions?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Were any notes made by any of your assistants during the discussion that we're talking about?
We didn't take minutes of that. We just did an excerpt of what came out.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's not the question I'm asking you. There was a brigadier who was responsible for taking the minutes.
Correct.
And there's a problem about the actual memory stick that was used, which recorded the earlier parts of the meeting when everybody was there, and the evidence leaders want to know whether on that original memory stick there's signs of anything having been recorded thereafter. But that's apparently been lost. She, in her custody, and we've hit a brick wall as far as that's concerned. But I'm not busy with that. It's very unfortunate that we haven't got a tape recording, but if there isn't one, we'll have to do the best we can. But I asked you a different question. I said, do your assistants take notes, never mind the official minutes, take notes of things that are discussed? Not necessarily full enough for the purposes of compiling minutes, but do they take notes of things that are being discussed? I understood you to say they do. Or did I perhaps misunderstand you?
They do take notes in formal meetings, because this was an extraordinary meeting. We didn't take notes for it.
No notes were taken at all?
Yeah.
Even though there was a discussion for up to an hour involving various people, no notes were taken.
We didn't take notes for this meeting.
I see. All right. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is, the last point about this, I think I touched to some extent, but I just want to make sure I've dealt with it fully. Did General Mbomba, Provincial Commissioner Mbomba, at any stage explain to those of you at the meeting the answer to the question that's been worrying us since the Commission began, namely, why Thursday, the 16th? The evidence indicates, and she in fact said in the discussion that she had with the people in London, at the time when you spoke to her on the telephone on the Tuesday, that she'd arranged for people and told them that they had, I think you said until the weekend. So as far as what she told her people, and we also know that she budgeted for the full week. So was there any pressing reason why this operation had to be mounted on the Thursday that she communicated to you or any of you?
Not that I know of, Chair.
Right, thank you. I now want to move to another topic, and that is, we know that a review panel was appointed. A member of it was Brigadier Mkunazi, and Colonel Hunter, and I think there were 3 others. Mr. Ali was the secretary, I think, of the panel. We only heard about this panel during the cross-examination of Colonel Scott by Mr. Shaskerson. I can give you the reference, but it won't mean anything to you. But that only appeared on day 136. This commission had been sitting for 136 days before we learnt that this review panel existed. Now, we've been given a copy of what's described somewhat contradictorily as the final interim report of the panel. And it says it's Exhibit LL11. And it says its purpose is to provide you with an overview on policies, the unique challenges as far as public order policing is concerned, weaknesses, lessons learnt during the implementation of the SAP's operational strategy in the policing situation in Marikana. In other words, it's pointed specifically to go into what happened in Marikana and to advise. And we've had evidence about it, and there were various people who took part in the operation, gave evidence, and were questioned by members of the panel. Now, you were asked specifically in cross-examination by Mr. Nsibeza about the panel. I take it you knew about the panel because it was to advise you. Is that right?
Yes.
And its report was given to you because it was one of its purposes its main purpose was to provide you with an overview on policies and recommendations and so forth. That's correct?
Correct.
Yes. Mr. Nsibeza questioned you on the 76th day of this commission about the panel, whether there was such a panel, and you said that such a panel did not exist. You were asked whether there was a review, and you said there wasn't. Now, I don't understand that. That seems to be in contradiction to the evidence we subsequently heard 60 days later that this panel did exist and did hold sittings and made recommendations. Now, can you explain that? Why you gave the answer that I mentioned, that I stated to you, which you gave to Mr. Nsibeza when he cross-examined you?
Chairperson, I think what is important is that preparation for this commission took a lot of forms, and it was necessary for anyone who was going to come to this commission to prepare themselves. And I wouldn't have found it odd for me to ask anybody to assist me to do that, to prepare, to review, to assess, and give me input to be able to give, on behalf of the service, a response to questions that would have been asked. If that question was asked and I answered that way, it wouldn't have been for misrepresentation. It could have been maybe just a memory issue for myself at the time.
You see, I've got a couple of problems with that answer. Again, in fairness to you, I must put them to you. Did you appoint the panel? Did you appoint the
I would have
panel?
asked my team to assist me to collect information. I don't recall whether it's one of the panels that I directly appointed or whether my commanders asked them to assist me.
Did you got the report?
I don't have the report with me right now.
No, but you received the report in due course, because it was, as I read, to provide you with their overview on these various matters.
I wouldn't recall, Chair. I'll check my records.
So you say you can't remember getting the report?
I would check my records whether it's one of the. Remember, Chair, I'm saying to you I received many inputs in preparation for this commission.
Yeah.
And we would, if that report would have formed part of my inputs or could have been part of, I have files and files, reams and reams of papers in preparation for this.
You were asked in terms if there was a review, such a panel existed, and you said no. Now, I mean, there are three possibilities you give: yes, no, I'm not sure, I can't remember, I don't know. But you said you gave a categorical negative answer, which was incorrect. Can you explain that?
I've just explained it, Chair.
I see. Well, we have your explanation on record. All right, let me ask you another question. Now, was this review panel an extraordinary procedure as opposed to one of the review procedures set out in the Standing Order? You know, the Standing Order 262 provides for reviews in certain circumstances of operations. So the question is, let me repeat the question, was this review panel, the one Brigadier Mkhwanazi served on and Colonel Hunter, was that which gave you that final interim report, was that an extraordinary procedure, or was it the ordinary review procedure dealt with in the Standing Order?
It could have been any of those, but what is important for me was what I said to you earlier on. Coming to this commission, we got, I asked a lot of inputs from various people. I'm not sure whether that review was around training issues by Mkhwanazi and the other people, so I may have to look at that report again so that I can be able to apply my mind to that one.
Well, it wasn't just about training. It was an overview on policies, unique challenges, weaknesses, and lessons learned during the implementation of the SAPS operational strategy in the precinct situation in Marikana.
And that could have been...
That's pretty specific, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Specifically dealing with a matter which concerns this commission.
And that review could have been a post-analysis of what has happened.
Well, obviously it was after what happened. You couldn't have reviewed what happened in Marikana before it happened. It was definitely after Marikana, after the shootings. It came out in Colonel Scott's evidence when he divulged, to use Mr. De Rover's word, that on one occasion during routes, he went by helicopter to Pretoria to attend a session of this panel. And that then alerted us to its existence. It was actually sitting in parallel with routes. Now, again, the question arises, not only do we not know about it, it wasn't part of the hard drive, it wasn't part of Exhibit L, it wasn't anything that was communicated to us. As far as we were concerned, it was like the meeting on the Wednesday night, it was a secret. If Colonel Scott hadn't said what he said, we would to this day possibly have been ignorant that it happened. Now, do you think that was fair to keep that from us?
Chairperson,
we were told that no reviews were held pending the sittings of the Commission. That answer turned out to be incorrect. So we were given incorrect information on that. Now, can you explain that?
I think, Chair, it is important for me to say preparation for coming here was important for us, and we did everything that was possible for us to be able to present our matter here. If that review was assisting us to collect further information, yes, it would have been part of our processes of ensuring that we are able to come to the Commission. It would not have been done for any other thing other than assisting us to respond to this Commission. Nothing we did was meant to be any secret.
Well, of course it would have been.
And if it is called for, Chairperson, we would submit that.
Well, it certainly makes recommendations, things that went wrong, deals with matters that are relevant for us to consider, and would certainly have assisted us, possibly even shortened the length of an overlong commission if that information had been given to us earlier. But I'm reminded that Exhibit J 203 is the call-up instruction for the panel issued on the 27th of August, 2012. Do you know who signed it?
I would have signed it.
Yes, you did. So, well, anyway, I've given you an opportunity to explain why we weren't told about it, why we only found out about it by a side wind during Mr. Shatston's cross-examination of Colonel Scott. If there's nothing further you wish to add to your answer, we can leave it there.
Chairperson, I want to again categorically and clearly state it that our preparation to this commission was a long, long journey. We did a lot of things because it was in our interest to make sure that we're able to respond oppositely to the commission. Once the commission was announced, we did a lot of work to prepare for this commission.
There's the call-up commission. Sorry, there's the call-up notification on the screen, which is for us to see. Anyway, thank you for your answer. Mr. Mpofu and Mr. Gumbi have asked leave to cross-examine on limited topics. Mr. Mpofu has been given half an hour, which I hope he won't use in full. And Mr. Gumbi was given, I think it was 20 minutes. He's dealing with one topic, dealing with your interaction with Colonel Vermaak, as I recall. And Mr. Mpofu is going to deal with another topic. He'll tell you about it himself when he starts. Mr. Gumbi?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, National Commissioner.
Sawubona.
I think as a point of entry, let me reintroduce myself to you. My name is Louis Kumbi. I represent the family of the late Warrant Officer Lipaku, who was killed on the 13th of August 2012 near the railway line. Hope you still remember me. So, National Commissioner, my line of cross-examination will focus on the evidence that was presented before this commission after you testified before this commission. And in doing so, what I'm going to do, I'm going to briefly summarize the evidence that was presented before this commission, and I will give you an opportunity to comment on that evidence or on those allegations that were presented before this commission. Do you understand me?
I do say.
Yes. After you took a stand, National Commissioner, General Mpembe, who was in charge of the operation of the 13th of August 2012 near the railway line, testified before this commission. And in summary, his testimony in this commission is that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, certain members fired without his instruction. That was his testimony.
Now, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Gumbi. That point you dealt with when you cross-examined the National Commissioner previously. The permission I gave you relates to the interaction that she had later with Lieutenant Colonel Vermaak when he had an interview with her, you remember, and told her certain things. That's what you're entitled to cross-examine about. The point you're dealing with now, you've asked her about already. And there's no point in replying that ground. It's been adequately plowed already.
Yes, Chairperson, I was just summarizing it because there's another witness who testified to that effect. I will deal with the evidence of Colonel Vermaak immediately. I was just summarizing so that I will give the National Commissioner an opportunity to understand the rationale behind my question. Yes, National Commissioner. General Mpembe testified before this commission that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, certain members fired without his instruction. And when we cross-examined General Mpembe on that aspect, we also presented evidence before this commission in the form of statements, pocketbook, showing that on the 13th of August, near the railway line, he gave a command for the usage of stun grenade and tear gas. That was summary of his evidence. Furthermore, when the evidence, Colonel Scott again also took a stand before this commission, and he was cross-examined by the evidence leaders. And during his cross-examination, there were certain reports that were retrieved from his hard drive that they were produced before the production of Exhibit L that was presented before this commission. And in summary, the information that were contained from that reports indicated that On the 13th of August
Excuse
2012,
me, Mr. Ngumi, sorry. There's clear instruction that photographs are not to be taken during the sitting of these proceedings, of this commission. Would you kindly leave the room? Leave the room. You can come back when we stop sitting. You can take as many photographs as you like. But I made it quite clear, taking your photographs disturbs the proceedings. I don't know why you won't comply with that, but get out. Leave the chamber. You can come back when we adjourn.
Thanks, Chairperson. Yes, National Commission. I was still busy dealing with the summary of the report that were retrieved by the evidence leaders from the hard drive of the laptop of Kenela Scott, to say that information that were retrieved from those reports indicates that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, General Mpembe issued instruction for the usage of stun grenade and tear gas. That was the evidence presented before this commission. And we had another witness who testified before this commission, that is Kenela Vermaak. He testified that on the 21st of January 2013, he had a meeting with you, General Mbombo, and other senior police officials. And in that meeting, he presented a report dealing with some shortcomings, specifically about the operation of the 13th of August 2012. In that report, if I can refer you, the National Commissioner, that is Exhibit 00010, Chairperson, if we can put that report on the screen.
I think it's 00010.
Yes, 00010. I do apologize for that. 00010, page 16. If we can put that on the screen. It's page 16.
Perhaps you gave us the paragraph number to be easier for us to find the passage. You see,
yes,
what we've got, it doesn't give the page numbers, but it gives paragraph numbers. So what's the paragraph number you're referring to?
It's not mentioned, Chairperson.
If you look at your page 16, you'll see, won't you?
Yes, the heading is question that might be asked.
Is it after what's on the screen at the moment?
Yes, I think.
All right, well, let's move on and get to the question that may be asked. I think that's both beyond this too, doesn't it?
It's not that one.
Section you want?
The text dealing with about the incident of the 13th of August 2012.
Yeah.
It has a heading, questions that might be asked.
Yes, right, well.
Maybe to save time, Chairperson, if I can read
I think
the
to be
content
fair,
of that paragraph.
I think to be fair to the witness, she should have an opportunity to see the passage you're referring to.
Okay.
I think it might be seen as some kind of ambush if we do it otherwise.
Yes,
here we go. Now we've got
yes.
questions that might be asked.
If you can go down there, I think it's a third bullet point. Scroll it down. Yes. Can I read the content of this paragraph for the record, National Commissioner? It reads as follows. That's the information, that's a report that was presented by Kenela Vermaak before you on the 21st of January 2013. It reads as follows. On the incident of the 13th of August 2012, Monday, the allegation by members that Major General Mpembe gave instruction that members must leave their firearms in the nyalas. On the videos, it could show clearly the members that were standing on the railway line. On the railway track did not have proper riot gear with them. Due to the incident prior to this day, it was reckless not to take it consideration. The members were not properly in line, follow the group, and why not with the armored vehicles. Then he further said that the instruction from Major General Mpembe that tear gas and stun grenade must be thrown triggered the assault in the SAPS. Major General Mpembe denied at Rose that he was not aware who gave the instruction, but after Captain Tupe from TRT, Rustenberg said that he was next to the general when the instruction was given. Only after that, Major General Mpembe acknowledged that it was him. Major General Mpembe was also confronted by POP members why he took charge at an unrest scene while the senior POP commander, in bracket Lieutenant Colonel Vermaak, was on the scene, and it is against SO 262. Do you see that, National Commissioner?
I've heard and seen it.
Okay. So my question is, we have Exhibit L that was presented before this commission, and it was presented on the 6th of November 2012. If I can refer you to to slide 47. Slide 47 of Exhibit L. If you can put that on the screen. Slide 47.
This is the slide you want. Which bullet point on that do you want to refer the National Commissioner to in particular?
Yes. Bullet point number 2 and number 3, read together. In dealing with this topic, National Commissioner, will you agree with me that when you look at these two slides, there are no allegations which say that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, certain members fired without the instruction of General Mpembe? Do you see that?
I see the slide.
Yes, do you see that? Even the opening statement that was presented before this commission by the SAPS, there is nothing which says that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, certain members fired without instruction. Will agree with me on that?
I would take it that you didn't read the opening statement. I take it that with recollection, probably it's saying that.
It doesn't say it.
Okay.
And when the chairperson asked you whether you had an opportunity to have a look at Exhibit L that was presented before this commission, were you aware about those allegations that certain members near the railway line fired without the instruction of General Mpembe?
That is what General Vermaak is saying, and Vermaak is part and parcel of that operations team. He had the opportunity to participate in this process, had the opportunity to participate in the JOC. I would have expected that member of mine to raise those issues there so that they can be given treatment.
And you don't have a knowledge why this information is not included in this exhibit?
I actually would ask him why that information did not reach this platform of planning.
The meeting is alleging that he had a meeting with you on the 21st of January 2013. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that meeting?
Yes, we did have a meeting, and in that meeting I did say to him, we have made it explicitly, abundantly clear that all members have the responsibility to share the information they have. He had that space at the beginning, through that meeting, inputting, he had the responsibility to place that information on record. He has made statements under oath. He has made additional statements. He needed to make that information available. He knows it.
Yeah, but when we cross-examined Colonel Vermaak, we also confronted him with your evidence to say that when you took a stand before this commission, you never raised this aspect in your statements, even in your testimony, that on the 21st of January 2013, you had a meeting with him wherein he raised these issues that on the 13th of August 2012, near the railway line, certain members fired without the instruction of General Mpembe.
What is important is to even mention the fact that I did not call him to that meeting. He asked for a meeting with me through our lawyer. And what I made it very clear to him is that he has a responsibility to ensure that his information, like all other members, is given in the most truthful sense, in the fullest sense. So for you to actually want to put it as if it is something that is excluded, I find it as a misnomer. He knows what I said to him.
You informed him that
Yes,
this
I
information
did.
must be presented
To say
before this
it must
commission.
be in his statement. He must disclose whatever he knows. He must discuss it with his team. He cannot come and cry foul. Nobody was allowed to withhold anything. We said, tell it like you know it. Any member.
Thanks, Commissioner. Furthermore, when we cross-examined the General Mbembe on the facts surrounding the death of the late Warrant Officer Lepako, and he promised this commission that he would initiate internal inquiry when we confronted him with all these statements and the pockets book of the police officer that were present in that operation. He promised this commission that he would initiate inquiry to investigate those allegations leveled against him by those members who alleged that he gave a command for the usage of stun grenade and tear gas. Are you aware of that internal inquiry?
Currently, there are no inquiries that are taking place. This commission must finish, give us their recommendations. We will look at all those issues.
Yes. But you are aware, National Commissioner, that in terms of the Police Service Amendment Act, you have a power to initiate internal inquiry if the member is killed or injured in the line of duty.
Yes, I am aware.
And with regard to the death of the late Warrant Officer Lepako and injury of Lieutenant Baloyi, you can't tell this commission whether there is an ongoing inquiry.
I have said already in my response to you to say as soon as this commission finishes, we definitely will make sure that in line with those powers and the responsibilities and duties that we have, we shall do so.
In conclusion, National Commissioner, will I be correct that whatever evidence that was presented before this commission, you never instructed any of your senior officials to alter or to amend any evidence or to manipulate any evidence to be presented before this commission?
I have no powers to do so, and I have not done so.
With regard to the report that was presented before you by Lieutenant Colonel Vermaak on that meeting of the 21st of January 2013, are you aware whether that report was shared among the senior POP members or POP commanders, wherein he identified some of the shortcomings in the POP operation of the 13th of August 2012?
I'm not aware.
You didn't share it with other senior SAPS officials?
Am I aware that it was shared by other people?
I'm saying the information he presented before you in the form of a report, identifying some of the shortcomings with regard to the operation of the 13th of August 2012. Was it shared with other POP commanders or other SAP senior officials?
General Mbobo was there.
It was shared with her.
She would have heard the Vermaak talking to us about it.
And this information was, do you have a knowledge where it was disseminated to other SAP as senior officials?
I've said to
besides General Mbombo?
I've said General Vermaak, first and foremost, he himself needed to put all those things in his statements and other things. He had that responsibility, and I just hope that he did.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gumbi. Mr. Semenya, your light's on.
May I place on record, Chair, according to my information, an R1 is a heavier caliber than an R5. It is a 7.62 millimeter round and will do more damage than a 5.56, which is an R5 cartridge.
Thank you, Mr. Semenya. That information is obviously very important, and we'll bear it in mind. Thank you. So at least one of the bases in which I'm not sure, of course, whether the bullets disintegrate and whether it goes on, whether horizontally keeps the horizontal path for 600 meters. But those are matters that we can get information on, I would trust, by
Chair, our understanding is not the same as Mr. Semenya's. I think that the evidence leaders and the SAPs need to get together on this and put put forward an agreed statement from a
I must
ballistics
confess,
expert.
I asked the question as I did because I assumed, possibly erroneously, that the 600-metre horizontal travel path that Mr. de Roba talked about was something which went beyond the capacities of an R1. But I may well be wrong on that. But anyway, obviously we must get definite expert evidence on the matter. And as you say, it may well be that the evidence leads in the SAPS can come to a common mind on that point. But it's relevant for Mr. Semenya to raise the point at this stage to indicate that the question...
Mr. Chairman, I think there was evidence that was... I'm sorry, Mr. I was saying, I recall that there was expert evidence that was led on all of these firearms. I think it's warrant of vessels or something like that, and that might
we'll look at all that.
Of assistance.
Yes, thank you. We now take the adjournment and the tea adjournment. After that, Mr. Mpofu will be cross-examining for up to half an hour on one topic that I allowed him to ask on. We're now adjourned. Quarter now.
I thought